What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Chatter from the Cheap Seats. I'm your host, Jack, alongside with Ori and Sammy, and we're going to give you guys some banging sports content today.
Yeah.
I got the new setup behind me. Everything's
it.
looking dandy and nice. Sammy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Closer to, I don't think you guys celebrate, but I have Christmas, so that's fun. And Hanukkah just ended, so I do both, which last week I said, maybe cheating, but it's fun,
That's
around
just
here,
not fair,
holidays.
though.
It's not like I'm not, I'll take it though. Hey, it's.
I wish I celebrated
Yeah,
Christmas. I really
Jack,
do.
can you tell us about what's behind you there and your new setup?
Yes, so I have a wooden bat that I got in Cooperstown a couple of
Nice.
years ago. Over here, I have a signed picture of Aaron Judge. And then behind me directly, I have a huge plaque that it's sort of like just a general commemoration of Derek Jeter's retirement. It has the ticket from his last game. It has a quote that's kind of in metal that's cool. It has a patch from every World Series he went to. A great picture of him. It's really cool. I got that in Cooperstown also.
Nice.
I did not get that in Cooperstown. That was a gift. That was a bar mitzvah gift.
Good stuff. Ori, how you doing today?
I am doing very well. It snowed a lot.
Yeah, man. Did you guys get out? Did you guys get
Yes.
out? No?
I was out like the whole day.
What'd you do?
We were playing tackle football, me and my
Oh,
boys.
man, that's fun.
I was going Derrick Henry on him. I was doing my inner Derrick Henry, which
A lot of
was pretty fun.
similarities between you and Derrick
Um,
Henry, Ori.
I agree. We have the same body type, everything.
Really, you really do.
Dude, I miss
Big
playing. I've
ponytail.
not done that in a long time. Football in the
Yeah.
sun. Yeah, I mean, I like work. I actually had a debate that day because I do like debate at my school, so I didn't really get to get outside at all. But it's fine. I mean, like I got to look outside the window. That's enough for me. I get the winter vibes. So yeah, but
I
it was
hate
cool to get
winter.
some snow. Winter's fun. I hate it because there's no baseball. I keep thinking like I want to get out, to the field, and I'm like, oh, and like there's snow on the ground.
Yeah, there's snow. You can't do anything about that. But also, while we were away from the podcast, we had the best game of the season
Absolutely.
in the NFL. We had Ravens Browns. Monday Night Football. I mean, I don't think you could write it up better. I mean, literally out of a movie, right, Sammy?
What a game. I mean, I was really most Monday Night Football games I like don't really tune into, but this one, it was a good game. Two good teams that we're probably going to make the playoffs. Ravens maybe not, but like what a game. I mean, back and forth. I mean, just in that last 4 minutes, like the Browns took the lead and the Ravens took it. It was wild, man. And I'll give credit where credit's due. I mean, Lamar, both quarterbacks really, to be honest, did a great job. I mean, Lamar Jackson, the beginning half of the game, he was having some issues. He was slipping a lot. I think it was something with his cleats. That was very strange, but I guess they fixed that. He got new cleats or whatever. And second half, he was much better, but he did throw the ball all too much. Baker Mayfield, though, I mean, a lot of the credit is going to Lamar, but Baker Mayfield, despite the loss, what a game from him. I mean, the Browns really put up a fight. Where they lost it was defensively, but both teams were pretty weak defensively that game, to be honest. But
there's no defense. There's no defense in the game whatsoever. And let's just say that Lamar Jackson had a mid-game malfunction. Might have been some cramping. Might have been some other type of butt clenching. We don't know.
yeah,
I don't think he pooped just because he came back with the arm tape on and the wristband and shut off.
Or you think that's
a cover?
Always
be a cover.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's a cover up. It seems too much like the Paul Pierce situation. I mean, he got in and out so quickly.
Oh man.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. It took him 20 minutes. That's why I don't think
It did not take him 20 minutes.
It did. He was in the locker room for at least 20 minutes. And Ori, you're the only person I know that takes poops that are longer than 20 minutes.
I mean, hey, maybe he really needed to go and wanted to take his time.
Yeah, but
he's in the middle of an NFL game. What do you think? He's reading a newspaper? Like,
I mean,
hey, Lamar, it's fourth down. We need you to get out there.
Hold up, I'm reading this article.
Sorry, man. There's 5 minutes left in my podcast. I'm listening to chatter from the Chiefs. It's amazing. You can try it.
Yeah, I mean, no one's really talking about the fact that like Trace McSorley, tore his ACL or something.
Bro, he broke his knee.
Yeah, he got pretty bad, and that's just sad. Because
You've seen
at
some
the,
rough
at the end of the
injuries this
game, Lamar was out, and it was 2-minute warning. Trace McSorley was in. I was like, oh my god. I mean, the stars are aligning. Trace McSorley is gonna lead the Ravens to a comeback. And then he gets hurt, and Lamar comes back from the bathroom, and
plays in impeccable.
The rest is history.
I mean, he just played incredibly well after he came back from the locker room. He was 5 for 6, and his only incompletion was when he spiked it. So basically, a perfect 5 for 5.
Yeah.
I think it's only fitting that the go-ahead touchdown at the time was to beat Marquise Brown, who was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Before that catch.
Yeah, he had some pretty bad.
When you think about all the guys that the Ravens could have drafted ahead of Marquise Brown in that particular draft, he was really not a good draft pick for them.
Nope,
but,
not at all.
I mean, it was such a good game. And speaking on Trace McSorley, I can't even say his name without humming to myself. Trace McSorley, throw it on a dime. I can't. That is forever etched in my memory. That was a great game.
Yeah, well, one more thing, just because, it was such a back-and-forth game, and when the Browns scored that touchdown before the Ravens led that comeback, I was really hard on Marlon Humphrey. Did you guys see that missed tackle?
Yeah, that was tough.
That was really bad. I was like, oh, my God, man.
But, I mean,
that's bad.
He played such a good game. He forced 2 fumbles that game.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's tough.
He is really, really good at forcing fumbles. You see him. I think they were talking about that in the broadcast, but he really tries to punch the ball out, and he's spectacular at that.
Yeah.
But you mentioned last episode about Jalen Hurts. Now, it was only one game, so don't take your victory lap just yet, because you've been wrong on many things before, Justin Herbert. But it's a step in the right direction. It was a great game. And, Sammy, I had 2 questions for you. So my first question is Jalen Hurts for real? And then my second question is, let's say he is for real. What are the Eagles going to do? Because you have a guy in Carson Wentz who is a former MVP type player. Not so much this year. He's taking up a ton of cap room. He has a massive, unmovable contract. Next season, if Jalen Hurts leads this team to play super well, is he the starter going into next year? Do you have an open competition? What do you do if you're Doug Peterson and the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a tough spot, but I mean, Jalen Hurts, to answer your first question, I believe he is for real. I mean, I don't want to say I had my doubts, but I wasn't all in on it. I was like, well, we got to see, will he perform? But he went in there, first NFL start against what was at the time statistically the top defense in the NFL, the Saints, who have been phenomenal all year. And he really picks him apart, making good decisions, getting a lot of stuff done with his legs, which is a really impressive and important part of his game. I mean, it's incredible to see what he's doing. And as an Eagles fan, I'm not an Eagles fan, obviously, but if I was an Eagles fan, I'd just be kind of frustrated because it's oh, he's playing so well. Why haven't we been doing this all year? That's what this team could have been with good quarterback play, and it's frustrating. And if I'm the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, if he could get some wins at the end of the year, if he can play really well, I believe he is the starter going into next year. And I believe the mindset is either keep Carson Wentz and see what happens, but preferably I want to get him out, get some value for him. And I was listening to another podcast, or a YouTube video, but they were saying a fit would be the Indianapolis Colts for Carson Wentz because, the Frank Reich connection. And think about it. His best days were when Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. Ever since he left to be the head coach of the Colts, Carson Wentz hasn't really been the same. So maybe a connection there could, help the Colts and help Carson Wentz get back on track with his career.
Well, I don't really think a team is gonna want him. I mean, he is such a big cap hit. He is so expensive. His contract is absolutely massive, and he's performing worse than a guy you drafted in the 5th round. I think the Eagles are gonna have to suck it up. They're gonna have to pay this man the contract. There's gonna be a competition for the starting quarterback spot next season. I
Will
think.
there be? I mean, like,
I mean, no, they're
I
gonna
don't
say,
know. Like,
they're gonna say it's an open competition. I don't think they're gonna give anyone the job right, before
yeah, fair
preseason
enough.
and practice and stuff. I definitely think
Anything could
there's
happen.
going to be competition, but I would favor Jalen Hurts because the Carson Wentz is just not the same quarterback. He's just not. You look at him on tape. You look at him playing this season. He makes this Eagles team worse, and it seems every time you don't have Carson Wentz in there, better things happen, and the Eagles
Yeah.
perform better. So
But yeah, what I'm saying is, like, as the Colts, like, you have a factor in there with Frank Reich. So that team especially more than any other team, I'd be willing to take that contract in and maybe give up a little more because maybe you think you have something, and if you don't, it's a risk for sure, but it's less of a risk than any other team in the league because you have Frank Reich, who Carson Wentz had his best dates with that guy, and I think that's a huge factor as to why he's not playing he's playing his worst football. Let's put it that way.
Now, don't get me wrong though. Carson Wentz can go out there next year and rip it up, and I won't be that surprised. Like I don't think he's.
I don't
lost.
think
I'd be surprised. I mean,
I
I'd
don't
be
think
surprised.
he's done. I think he's struggling a lot this year, and I think he's lost this year. But I don't think he's
Drastically,
done.
unless something drastically changes, like a coaching situation or like you have a completely like new situation. I don't think anything's going to change with Carson Wentz. Like I don't see any way that's going to happen.
I don't
And
know. I
like,
think it was a weird year going into training camp. You didn't have OTAs. I think with a guy like Carson Wentz, you give him the benefit of the doubt
Okay.
going into next year. And if he sucks next year,
You
but
know.
like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't trade him. He's untradeable.
Like,
He's
you may as
untradeable.
well-
His contract is ridiculous.
and like if I'm the Eagles, I may as well trade him now
But you
because
can't.
like
You're not gonna be able to. That's the
But-
thing.
like
Like, no one will take him.
if he's
no
bad
one.
next year. I mean, it'll be easier to trade him now than if he's bad.
But it's
after
it's
next year.
impossible both because it doesn't matter because he has a Giancarlo Stanton-esque contract. Like no matter how many
Right.
nobody
dumb
wants
fans
him. Nobody's
want to
gonna
say
take him.
on Twitter, they won't be no matter how many dumb trade proposals that Yankee fans want to make on Twitter for Giancarlo Stanton, he's never going to be able to be traded because of his contract. Same deal with Carson Wentz. Now, the NFC East is starting to heat up, Sammy. The NFC East, the best division in football. You
Most
got
interesting, not
the
gonna lie.
Giants, you got the Cowboys, the Eagles, the football team. And I think that without a doubt, the football team are the favorite to win the NFC East. They have the number one pass defense in football. Their front seven with guys like Chase Young. I mean, it's legit. Their defense is legit. Now, Alex Smith has been managing games. He's been doing what he needs to do to get
Yeah,
by.
but he's not gonna be
However,
playing next
he's going to
year.
be out.
Yeah, man.
Dwayne Haskins, Bullis alumni, who is frankly terrible. He's atrocious. The man has one read. His eyes do not leave that read the entire play. He'll just be locked in on his first read. He'll be in double coverage and he'll just lob it up to him every single time
that's-
like clockwork. He is a turnover. If you think
When he's not
Daniel
even a
Jones is a
remarkable
turnover
talented-
machine, oh my
not-
god.
Yeah, he's not even remarkably talented either. Like some guys can get away with that a little bit if like you have like a Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes-esque arm, but like he doesn't have the arm strength. Like you said, like the reads aren't really at an NFL starting QB level. So that if I'm the football team, that's a worry of mine. But like if your defense keeps playing like it's been, I don't care. I mean, Chase Young, at the beginning of the year, people were saying defensive player of the year or defensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, and I was a little skeptical. It's like, I think there's some other guys that could get this, but at this point, it's obvious. It's an obvious race there. He's really, an X factor on that defense, and that whole defense has really been good this year. And I think they are the favorites, obviously, but don't rule out the Giants yet. They have a tough schedule, but like they pulled off some crazy things, and don't rule out the Eagles.
The Eagles are going to have to win out though.
They're going to have to win out. But with the new QB situation, I mean, against the Saints, they were a completely different team all around. I mean, I think with Jalen Hurts, kind of go back to that for just a second, his leadership, it's just a spark in that locker room, a spark on the field for the Eagles. They're a completely different team against the Saints. And if they can play like that for the rest of the year, who's to say that they can't win out and maybe clinch a spot in the playoffs? I mean, all option. I mean, with this division, everything is still on the table.
Yeah, this division is really tight, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles went undefeated if Jalen Hurts can keep on the performances because they have the Cardinals, which is going to be a tough game.
Winnable.
But then you have Cowboys, which is obviously very winnable, and then you play, the football team, and if they do end up winning, beating the Cardinals and the Cowboys, that might really decide who wins the division. So that
I
could
mean,
Yeah,
the
it's gonna be a
football
fun
team,
one.
the football team, Cowboys or the football team Eagles game at the end of the year could be monster. Now, don't rule out the Giants yet. Like you said, I think you're getting pretty close to the point. I think Daniel Jones is clearly not himself with this new injury. I think the Giants have their coach of the future. They have a lot of good things to build on. You still don't know if Daniel Jones is the guy, but next year you're gonna know next year because if he doesn't take a if he doesn't take a huge boost in production, then he's not your guy. So, and he's gonna be your quarterback next year because they're not getting Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, he's your guy. And speaking of Trevor Lawrence, I was listening to a radio show the other day, and they had an interesting debate. Now, I personally agree with this. I think that the coach that the Jets hire is so important because when Sam Darnold was coming out of the draft, obviously he was not as highly touted of a prospect as Trevor Lawrence will be. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a bigger prospect than Andrew Luck. He's going to be the biggest prospect since John Elway. But your coach, if you make the wrong hire with the coach, it doesn't matter because they did that with Adam Gase. Sam Darnold was supposed to be a can't-miss prospect. They broke him. Now, I think Sam Darnold can go to the right place in the right system and be a good NFL quarterback, but they broke Sam Darnold. They can break Trevor Lawrence. I don't care how good you are. If you hire Adam Gase 2.0, Trevor Lawrence is not going to be a good quarterback in football. I don't think his talent – I think a lot of people say that his talent is so great that he's unbreakable. There's not – if the Jets hire an awful coach, he is unbreakable. Now, Sammy, do you agree with this, or do you think that if the Jets hire a bad coach, that Trevor Lawrence can be broken?
Now, I'm not like the expert of college football or the expert of Trevor Lawrence. I'm never have really been the biggest college football fan, but I think anyone is breakable. And because I think so much comes down to an offense with your coaching and, the situation you're in and, the influences. And I think even if you're the most talented guy in the world, like, I'm not saying Mr. Trubisky is. He's not. But, I think with better coaching and a better situation, he
would
could
still
have
suck.
had – I think he would have had more success and he would be a solid start in this league. He's not there. I mean, obviously. But, when you have a guy with a ton of talent and then you put him with the right coaches, you're going to see great things. Patrick Mahomes is the obvious example. He's the best player in football, without a doubt. I mean, that's what the Jets should strive for because if you mess up with your coaching, you have this guy who's maybe incredibly talented, but he's not going to be in a good situation for years, and you're going to waste some good years of his career. I mean, you guys see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the biggest thing a coach can do is obviously he game plans and he's the man that decides how the offense is going to be run. And I think any great quarterback should be able to work in any system. And obviously there are going to be some systems that work better for different types of quarterbacks. But the reason that it's very, very important to get a great head coach for a young quarterback is that when they're in their first 2 years of their career, they're developing a lot. And if you have a bad head coach, it's going to stall their development. I'm sure Sam Darnold would be much further along in his development if he had a better coaching staff and a better surrounding team. And I think if you're going to the Jets, obviously you're not going to have that good of a team. So at least have a good coach to help you, develop. And that development really comes in those first few years. We see it with Josh Allen really now. And we know that he has a good coach there in Buffalo. And if Trevor Lawrence can have that, then he can be a star. I think a bad coach can't necessarily ruin already established quarterback. But a young guy coming out of college, it doesn't really matter how good you are. You need to develop in the NFL. The game is much quicker.
Absolutely.
It's different than in college. So he's going to need a good head coach.
Well, exactly. We saw that when Adam Gase was coaching up Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was at the end of his career. He was still great because he's Peyton Manning. But you take Peyton Manning, a young Peyton Manning, right out of college that's learning how to play football, he's going to break them. I think any quarterback can be broken. Now, speaking more on the head coach side of things, there are probably going to be a lot of head coaching spots open, probably 7, 8, 9. I mean, the Jets is one, the Texans is another, most likely the Chargers,
Lions,
the Lions, the Bears. So
maybe. We'll see.
maybe. So my question to you, Ori, is what do you think is the most desirable head coaching job? Because for me, it's the Chargers. I think you got Justin Herbert. He's a star. He's going to be a star. You already have your guy at the most important position. You have a lot of talent around him. Their offensive line is terrible. However, you have guys like Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You have guys on the defensive side of the ball, Joey Bosa, Derwin James. You have a lot of pieces around him. I think this is a team that next year you might see flip the switch and win 9 games.
Yeah, I mean, I totally see it with the Chargers. I agree with you. I think it's one of the more attractive places for a head coach to, a potential head coach to want to go to. For me, I was gonna go Chargers, but I think I'll switch it up here. I'm gonna go Detroit Lions. Now this might turn a few heads, but I think the main argument here is that you have a great quarterback. Now Matthew Stafford has not been able to play to his full abilities because of the coaching, and his talent level is a top 10 quarterback. He can really be your guy. And I think he has the potential and he has the ability now to win a Super Bowl with the right team. It's not like it's not a quarterback.
Wow.
I'm telling you, people are sleeping on Matthew Stafford.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah.
He also, he has enough pieces on this offense. They've got, they have a young running back in DeAndre Swift.
Kenny Galladay.
Kenny
Hawkinson's had a
Galladay.
great second year.
Although
Exactly.
Kenny Galladay is going to be a free agent pretty soon.
That's
Yeah.
true. But, if you keep Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones, that's a good receiving core. You have TJ Hawkinson, who's been a really, really good young tight end in this league. So I think on the offensive side, you have a lot of things to look for. And when it comes to the NFL, you win with offense. We all know this. Defense is extremely important, and you can't win championships without defense. But
It's an offensive league.
yeah, it's an offensive league, and to already have an established offense, I think, is really important. And whichever coach is going to step in there, if they can bump up that defense, that team is going to be formidable really, really quickly.
So, and I think there are a few. It depends how things go. If the Bears get rid of Nagy, I think the Bears is the most desirable spot for a head coach to go. It depends on a lot of things. If he's going to get fired, the Bears could still very well make the playoffs, which is crazy, and we'll talk about it in just a little bit. But I think Chicago, if there is a vacancy there, it's a great spot to go. It's one of the best cities. It's a great market, and as a team, I think with a good coach, a good offensive-minded coach that can fix that offense, offensively, you have enough talent to be good. Dave Montgomery, these past few weeks, has shown that he has top 10 running back upside. He's, been great. This defense is elite. Top 10, maybe top 5 in the league when they're at their best. And Trubisky, last week against the Texans, he had this great game. He looked incredible. So it shows you that you have potential. I mean, if they could get Robinson back, you have one of the best wide receivers in the league. And so if you're a coach, an offensive-minded coach that can kind of fix some of the problems that are happening there, I think you could maybe form a Super Bowl contender out of the Bears because they're talented enough to do that with the right coaching, the right guy there. It depends how things go at the end of the year. Maybe Matt Nagy and Bill Lazor are going to end up being those guys. Maybe they're going to turn around their horrible ways. But if the Bears vacancy isn't open, I think the Falcons is kind of an interesting place to go just because I think offensively, kind of the opposite of the Bears, you have, a lot of talent, undeniable talent. You have one of the definitely an above average offense. And it's a team. I was talking to a friend of mine that's a Falcons fan, and he says there's a lot of talent in this team. And it's true. I think you have a lot of young players who just are kind of being wasted away by really subpar coaching. So I think it would be an interesting place to go try to rebuild Atlanta and get them back to their winning ways because just a few years ago, they weren't all too bad. They made it to the Super Bowl. They were, a team always in the conversation for winning the NFC South. So, and our last topic before we move on to our football picks, NFC playoff race, the wild card race in particular, is getting very interesting. And I think the Bears can do it because right now it's really down to the Cardinals, the Bears, and the Vikings. So out of those three teams, Cardinals have the 7th seed right now. Who's going to make the playoffs?
Ooh, I mean that's a tough one. Do you say you have the Bears sneaking in?
I think the Bears can sneak in. I believe. After seeing that great game against Houston, I'm a believer again.
So right now,
I think that the Vikings are a better team, and I think that frankly, who's the other team again?
Cardinals.
Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are the best team. I think they haven't been playing great recently, but I think the Giants win could spark them. If Kyler Murray, we saw him, he had many more rushing attempts last game than he did previously. When he is mobile, that offense is completely different. So I really do believe that the Cardinals can win the wild card and maybe make a playoff push. I mean, the signing of DeAndre Hopkins has been huge. Some would say the Cardinals hit it out of the park. Now, speaking of hitting it out of the park, like that transition there, boys, the Mets signed James McCann and also hired new GM Jared Porter. Now, with the signing of James McCann, because yes, that's great and all, but what really intrigues me is that JT Realmuto's options are dwindling. The Mets were the biggest suitor for him.
Yeah.
They're gone. The Phillies are
Well-
gone. They don't have the money. The Phillies have come out and said that they're not signing Realmuto. They don't have the money. We saw earlier there was some interest in the Nationals signing Realmuto, but where do you think he ends up? Because he's not going to the Phillies and he's not going to the Mets.
I mean, you know what a team I think is kind of secretly, and we haven't heard really at all about this team, that's kind of secretly maybe trying to make a push? St. Louis Cardinals. And because Yadier Molina obviously has been their guy for like forever. Like he's been there since the creation of humankind. But feels like it anyway. But the contract extension talks between Molina and the Cardinals have kind of been stalling. And I think that could be because the Cardinals are seeing an opportunity. Because the Cardinals are a team that, didn't have a desirable 2020, but you still have a great pitching staff, led by Flaherty, of course. And offensively, you still got some talent. If you had Realmuto in there at the catcher position, shake things up, which maybe would anger the fan base because Molina is loved in St. Louis. But it could be an interesting move. And I think that could be a reason that the Cardinals don't seem as eager to re-sign Molina as a lot of people want them to be. Because, Molina is great defensively, but, his best offensive years are, way behind. He's not a good offensive catcher anymore. And I think Realmuto maybe could be a good fit for the Cardinals. That's a long shot, though.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that Realmuto going to the Cardinals is interesting because no one wants to talk about it. Yadier Molina going back to the Cardinals is not the best thing for the Cardinals. And I think that's really
Or Yadier
cool.
Molina.
I think that's really cool that you just came out and said that because not a lot of people would say that. Now, if I'm Yadier Molina, I don't want to go anywhere. And if I want to stay in St. Louis and finish my career there because, for his legacy.
They love
I
you.
think
He loves
that's
St. Louis.
important. But, yeah, that's a really interesting point that you brought up there. And I don't know if the Cardinals are going to be big spenders because that's my thing. We've really seen that the only teams that are going to come out and spend are the Blue Jays.
And the Mets.
And that's really it.
Sort of the White Sox.
Yankees are going to go out, most likely sign DJ LeMahieu, which is going to cost some money, but that's really it. They're not going to be big spending. And speaking of DJ LeMahieu, the Yankees and DJ LeMahieu are more than $25 million apart. Now, everyone was making a big deal about this. For me, it's not a big deal because that just tells me that they're still 1 year apart. It's the difference between 4 years and 5 years and change. Maybe $5 million extra. They're going to get the deal done. The way that Brian Cashman has backed himself into a corner with this, with the fan base and DJ himself, tells me, it doesn't make me feel great because why would he back himself into a corner? But the way that he did it tells me that he's going to re-sign DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu is going to be a Yankee because just the way that they've been acting. The Yankees have never lost a free agent. The Yankees have never lost a player that they're trying to re-sign and have publicly come out and said, we want him to be a Yankee. The closest you can think of it is Robinson Cano, and they let Robinson Cano walk, and it turned out to be the right decision. So I'm not worried. A lot of Yankee fans are freaking out.
Well,
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I do think he'll be a Yankee. I can't really imagine him next year in any other uniform. I mean, I think that's definitely, the best fit. But I feel like he kind of blew over James McCann a little bit. And I just to go back to this just for a second, but I mean, James
Sammy
McCann
coming in
is
hot. Youch.
James McCann is like one of, if not the most underrated catcher in baseball. He had a great year last year. 2019 was great. And get this, his hard hit percentage, which is, that's the goal when you're hitting, right? So it's one of the most important stats, is the same as Salvador Perez, who was the best offensive catcher in baseball last year. James McCann is no schlub. I mean, he got on base like 36% of the time. And I think it's just interesting that the Mets got him because, obviously Romito was a possibility. And for them, with all the money they have over all these other teams, to get a guy like McCann shows the confidence that they have in him over even a guy like Romito. I mean, I just think that's interesting. And
I think it's a
want to
smart
talk about
signing.
it. Yes,
Because you're not going to go out and pay Realmuto.
because now you have freedom
even
to
Steve Cohen isn't going to want to pay Realmuto, Springer, Bauer, because I mean they're the favorites to get Springer, and they're right there for Bauer.
right. And I think with sacrificing Romito for a guy like McCann, who's going to be possibly even just as good in a few years, you have a lot of more freedom to try to get guys like Bauer, to try to get a Springer. With a team like that, I think it's a really smart move. And if obviously, the Mets are having a great offseason so far.
For sure. And I mean, I apologize, Sammy. I did not mean to skip over your favorite MLB player, James McCann.
No,
now there were some smaller signings that happened. Michael Wacha, coming off an atrocious 2020, was signed by the Rays. Classic Rays signing. He's going to become a Cy Young pitcher next year.
Yeah.
Just because he's from the Rays. No, $3 million. Not going to spend too much time on this. Wasn't that big a deal. However, I do think it's interesting because you're starting to see this ahead of time. You see the Rays pick up guys, and you're thinking, you keep it in the back of your head, I might see this guy again. And you probably will. He has a dirty changeup. I think that the Rays analytical department is gonna focus on that changeup and get him to throw that pitch a lot more. And I think it's gonna be very useful.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, just because I was looking at his stats, and his ERA was horrible this year, but it was interesting.
He had an awful year.
His K rate went significantly up, and his walk rate went significantly down. And with a dirty changeup, I'm sure that's a factor. That's probably something the Rays are looking at. They're like, okay, you're giving up a ton of runs, but maybe they see an easy fix to get him back to where he was a few years ago, because he's been a pretty solid pitcher the course of his career.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the Rays do. They get guys that are underrated. That
are like 50 years old, and then they're
exactly.
like a Cy Young candidate.
And then they just make them studs. Like it seems like they do
That's
this.
wild. That's what they do.
They did it.
Charlie Morton. No longer a Ray.
Yeah, exactly. But they're just smart spenders. There's a reason they went all the way to the World Series with having one of the lowest payrolls in the league. They make signings like this, and the thing is that there's absolutely zero downside. You're only limited to a 1-year deal with this guy. $3 million is nothing, right? I mean, to the Rays, it's a pretty big deal, but like,
not really. I mean, that's not really. That's a small contract.
Yeah, small contract.
Even to the Rays, that's
absolutely no risk, very high reward. So I like that signing. We had some other signings. Also to Sammy's team here, the Cubs got Holder. What do you think about that signing, Sammy?
Yeah, Jonathan Holder. I was talking with Jack before we were recording. I think it's a really interesting move. Holder, like the second half of the year, was really good for the Yankees, and he has pretty good stuff. And I think it's similar with the Wacha trade, where you have a lot of upside but not a lot of downside. Because I think it's a small deal. Worst case scenario, he's going to be bouncing between AAA and major leagues, and maybe you'll get a good appearance out of him every now and then. That's not all that bad. And I think he's a guy, he's not that old yet, and he's had some good moments. Not a great past few years, but with the end of 2020, with that good second half, I think the Cubs are like, all right, we'll take a chance. If he can continue that into 2021, we've just, struck gold or silver. I don't think it's quite gold, but I think it's an interesting move. And to add some bullpen depth is always something that the Cubs are looking to do. Any team's looking to do, frankly. Another move, Hunter Renfroe to the Boston Red Sox. What do you guys think about this one? I think it's an interesting one. I think he's been he didn't have a good 2020, but he's been pretty solid in Tampa Bay. So just what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is a team that obviously is coming off an extremely disappointing year. So they're going to need some offense. And he's a good power hitter. He is coming off, again, Sammy said, like, not the greatest year.
No.
But, I mean, like, this guy.
An understatement.
I mean, like, it wasn't
It was a
horrible.
bad-
I mean, you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy?
It was horrible.
Hunter
it was
Renfroe.
a horrible year.
Hunter
Like,
Renfroe.
it was a bad year.
2020 was bad, but 2019 in 140 games hit 33 home runs. I mean, I totally kind of forgot that he did that.
And
I mean,
the
he's a
race
great power
like
threat.
that, which is it's crazy. It's a little bit messed up, but I mean, he had a 156 batting average. That's Gary Sanchez-esque.
But it's 2020, and we always say this. It's 2020.
No, I agree
Give him
with
the
you.
benefit of the doubt.
I agree with you. And finally, the Indians are going to change their name. We'll throw out some suggestions. I've heard the Cleveland Spiders bringing it back to their old name. I would enjoy that.
Yeah,
I think that's probably my favorite. Do you guys have any favorites? And
Well,
Corey, I do not want to hear the Cleveland Blueface Babies.
I was kind of thinking Cleveland baseball team.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that.
No, I
Washington
think
has grown on you.
Yeah, no, but I mean, they're going to keep the name for 21, which, I obviously I think it's right for them to change it, with the growing protests around that name.
That's what I don't understand, though. If they're not going to change it until 2021, why would they announce it here?
Yeah,
They're
that
basically
is strange. That is
They're
strange.
basically announcing we're going to have a racist name for this year, and then we're going to change it. And it's to sell memorabilia. They're basically saying we're going to sell all the Indians memorabilia we can in the next year, and then we're going to change to, I don't know, let's just say the Indian baseball team. Then we're going to sell, you got to get the Indian baseball team merch. You got to get that merch. So it's to sell tickets. Speaking of selling tickets, James Harden, one of the best players in the NBA, he sells tickets, but a little bit of a thick boy.
He is.
Yes.
He do be kind of.
He is
thick,
one
though.
thick boy.
He has been looking a little thick to.
To be fair, that was the picture that we're referencing. I'm sure all of you saw it. Just look up James Harden fat on the internet, and it'll show up. That was a really bad angle. Like he is that's a really bad angle.
He had I'm pretty sure he had a pretty good game too. I mean, the interesting stuff though. I mean, James Harden, he seems like he really wants out of Houston, and
he really wants to leave.
He did play in the preseason games, but that was not a given. He didn't play in the first few. He's basically been begging the new management up there to get dealt out of there, and he spent time in Las Vegas or something.
He said he
sounds
was
right out of the
practicing.
Dennis Rodman Last Dance playbook.
He said he was practicing in Las Vegas and Atlanta.
Come on, bro.
We're like, sure, James, I'm sure you were practicing in Atlanta and Las Vegas, buddy.
Yeah, that's
Whatever
one right
you
out
have
of the
to
Dennis
sleep at night.
Rodman book. But
and you would think that he gets John Wall, maybe he starts liking it in.
I think he hated that. I think
he's made up his mind. He wants to leave, and I don't think it matters that they got John Wall and got rid of Westbrook. They've really appeased to Harden. The whole Houston organization just wants him to be happy at all times, but it doesn't really matter what they do at this point. I think
it's over.
Harden's made up his mind, and he's leaving.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just a matter of time now. He's not gonna be a Rocket for too much longer. I mean, there are obviously a few teams that want him. Ori was talking about the 76ers before the show. Don't know about that. I mean, the obvious one that most people have been talking about is the Nets, which imagine that.
That'd be crazy. That'd be a big three.
That would be kind of wild.
Big three.
Yeah, now I have another question to ask you guys, not related to Harden, but related to a rookie by the name of LaMelo Ball.
Oh my God.
Because I mean, I don't care what you follow. If you're following SportsCenter, if you're following The Score, if you're following House of Highlights, I don't care. If you follow any account that's semi-related to sports, all they post is LaMelo. Every shot, every rebound, every time he touches the ball, it's a LaMelo highlight. I mean, and I love LaMelo. He's a great player. He's going to be good in the NBA. But geez,
I feel like he's
calm
Well, if you
down
want
with
to
all the
follow,
LaMelo highlights.
if you want to follow a sports account that doesn't post that posts the average amount of LaMelo content, that would be chatter_cheap seats pod. And you know,
Yes.
I haven't plugged it in a while, but I think it's important, Sammy, because I think we really want to get some more voicemails in here. So at 202-743-1767, that is 202-743-1767. Leave us a voicemail. But I have some semi-breaking news here.
Oh, like you
Now-
got okay.
Don't get your hopes up. It's not. It's just rumors, right?
All right.
But John Heyman reports that the Nats have talked to the Reds about third baseman Eugenio Suarez,
That's
and
a
nothing
tough
has
name.
been set in stone anyway. But Kieboom would make sense in a package. And the prospects that the Nats don't want to deal is Rutledge, Cavalli, and Garcia. Now, Dan Federico, who is another credible source, said on top of Suarez and Sonny Gray, who the Reds are also trying to ship, the Reds are listening on Luis Castillo. Although it would take a ton to get him, the Reds
No.
are in full sell mode, I'm told. Luis Castillo, I mean, that's kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he will get traded just because the amount it'll take, but that's a lot.
I mean,
That's a lot of information to digest.
the Reds went from buyers to sellers
real quick.
like bam. And,
0
I
to
mean,
100.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, it's
that is-
wild. I mean, I think dealing Suarez wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I think you could definitely get a ton of value for him, especially the Nationals, who have a pretty good farm system. And then Sonny Gray, I'd be fine with dealing him too. Luis Castillo, no way, too much upside. He's inconsistent, but like I feel like if he could figure, I'm sure there's probably one thing they kind of have to figure out with him to kind of, because location's kind of been his issue. But if you could get him in the strike zone more, I mean, his stuff is among starting pitchers, some of the nastiest in the league. So
No, he
I would not trade away Castillo for anything. Castillo's untouchable if I'm managing the Reds, which I'm not.
Now, he could be a
I'm
guy,
not.
just coming from a Yankees fan perspective, he could be a guy that the Yankees try to go after. He's one of those guys that you can just tell that he's a Cashman guy.
Who would you
Uh,
give up for Luis Castillo if you're the Yankees?
Well, I think it's going to have to start with either David Garcia or Clark Schmidt. I don't know which one. Let's just say Clark Schmidt for now. But I mean, he's kind of a pure cash move. You'd have to start with Clark Schmidt. You'd have to throw in Clint Frazier probably also. Maybe Miguel Andahar would be an option. I think those three might
Wouldn't
get
be
it
enough.
done. If not,
I mean, I don't think that.
I mean, Miguel Andahar. Clint Frazier is a guy who has all-star caliber potential. Miguel Andahar is a guy he got snubbed at the Rookie of the Year in 2018. He's a really good hitter. He doesn't have a position in the field, but he's a really good hitter. Clark Schmidt is the number one prospect in the Yankees organization. So I don't know.
Still, I think. I mean,
but
and I think it's just my
he'd
value
be the
on
ideal Cashman guy.
my value on Castillo is just way too high. I'm sorry, and for the Nationals, I mean, do you think they should go after Suarez? Because obviously third base since Rendon is left.
But I don't
It's
understand
been a
that.
bit
Like,
of a hole.
I don't think the Nationals can contend really. Like, I think Max.
No, you're wrong. That's
kind of
not true.
I think Steven Strasburg has been proven you can't trust him. You can't go into a season saying he's going to be your ace, lock him down. Now, obviously, if he's healthy, then yeah. But you can't trust him to stay healthy. Max Scherzer's 38. You can't trust him to stay
I
healthy.
mean, think about
And
what
if
some of those.
if one of those two guys gets hurt, there's no way they make a playoff.
I mean, the Nationals are a year separated from a World
That's
Series
big
run.
difference.
But wait,
Anthony Rendon was a big difference.
Anthony Rendon is
That's
a big difference.
loss.
But guess what? If you get Suarez, now you have a third baseman who's gonna
Not
get
Anthony
you
Rendon.
good at production offensively. Juan Soto had an MVP caliber year. Trey Turner also, I think, had an MVP caliber year, surprisingly to a lot of people. The Nationals actually offensively were very good this year. I mean, not very deep, but around the board. And maybe if they get Suarez and you get some other depth pieces, I think the Nationals can contend. I mean, because you still have that rotation. Like,
We'll see. We'll see. And we've gotten a little bit off the rails here because that's what we do on this podcast. We go off the rails. But now let's go on to the NBA predictions for the Eastern Conference. So, Ori, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so we're just before we get started, we're going to be doing just playoff teams. So we're going to go 8 through 1. We're going to do East this week, and next week NBA season will have started by then, but it'll be 2 games in. So we'll do our Western Conference next week.
Yeah, the Knicks are going to go 2-0, and Ori's going to be like, oh, winning the finals.
All right, so we're gonna go 8-1, as Sammy said, and I have a pretty fun team here at the 8th seed, going a clean 500, 36-36. I have the Atlanta Hawks. I like this Atlanta Hawks team. They're young, they're talented. I like my boy Kevin Huerter from Maryland, Maryland alum. He absolutely balled out there. A really, really good shooter. And then obviously you have Young, who's just an absolute beast. He's a point guard that's going to just be a perennial all-star for years to come, has that MVP caliber talent. He can go off for 40. So this team has a lot of upside with their young guys, and they're just going to keep on getting better. I think this 8 seed is going to be pretty competitive with teams like the Wizards and the Pacers, who I have a little higher on this list. But I think that I'm just going to have to go with the Hawks here just because of their young upside.
I like the Hawks too, and I do have them in the playoffs, but not at the 8 seed. 8 seed, hot take. It is flaming. It is on fire. I have the Chicago Bulls, and
oh my God,
it makes no sense. It makes no sense to either of us. If you guys understand it, please let us know. Please.
The Bulls are the most underrated team in the NBA, and
they were the 4th pick in the draft.
They're correctly rated as horrible.
They're not. I mean, come on. Zach LaVine is, in my opinion, a top 20, top 30 player in the NBA.
He can't carry a team that's that bad.
He's not going to carry it. I mean, because Kobe White is going to be incredible. These first few preseason games, he had 18 points in a quarter. I mean, he's really emerging as a scorer, and the playmaking is coming along for Kobe White. Wendell Carter, one of the best young rebounders in the game. Patrick Williams has looked great so far. He scored 12 or 13 points all of these first few preseason games. He's been really good, one of the better rookies throughout this preseason. Lauri Markkanen, last year he was kind of forced to play a style he didn't like playing. And now with a new coach, Billy Donovan understands that he needs to get down in the paint more, because last year he was too focused on that three-pointer, too focused on those mid-range jump shots. I think the Bulls are a team, just by getting Billy Donovan, just by adding a few depth pieces, just by getting Patrick Williams, you improve a lot, and they're talented enough to get to the playoffs. They have a lot of underrated talent, and it's a hot take, but you know what? That's what we have to do on this show, and I believe that.
Flaming hot. I think, Sammy, I think you're on fire right now, in fact. But we'll see. Now, Ori, me and you are simpatico, because I also have the Hawks in that 8 seed. I think they have a lot of talent on their team. Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Rajon Rondo, Clint Capella. I think they have a lot of good talent, and I think they're really going to turn some heads this season.
So what record did you guys have them at?
I actually didn't do records.
Oh, you didn't do records? Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just going straight.
Yeah, we don't do the math here. We're not a math pod.
Yeah, we do the math for NBA and NFL.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
NFL
All right, so let's go to the 7th seed.
I'll go first, just since you were just talking about the Hawks.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have the Hawks at the 7th seed, and this is a team that, like, as we're talking about good offseason, it's like no one's really talking about the Hawks, and like they had a really good offseason and added just the pieces they needed to add. Bogdan Bogdanovic, who was incredible in Sacramento, is a perfect fit in that Atlanta system. You add, Rajon Rondo, of course, who was really good last year in LA, and he's a good veteran presence, I think, for a young team like Atlanta. And then Chris Dunn from the Chicago Bulls, which is a tough loss as a Bulls fan, one of the best, if not the best, defensive point guard in the NBA. He led the league in steals, and he's always up there no matter when you're looking at the stats. He's a great piece to add, and they already have a lot of talent with, of course, Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, and John Collins, too. We didn't really talk about as much. He's one of the good, he's really explosive down there in the paint. So Hawks easily can make it to the playoffs, and that's a huge jump too. They were the 14 seed last year, so I think the Hawks are very, very underrated.
Okay, so for my 7 seed, I have the Pacers. They're a really good team, especially with Victor Oladipo coming back healthy. He's an absolute beast. TJ Warren kind of made playoff NBA bubble. I mean, he was an absolute stud in the NBA bubble. So if he can keep that up, I mean, this team is going to be really, really strong on offense. You also have some good big men. You have Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis, and Doug McDermott. And Doug McDermott can really shoot the three as well. So they have a really nice shooting team with a star player in Victor Oladipo. And I think that's going to be enough to get into the 7 seed here for the Eastern Conference.
All right, Jack, 7 seed?
Yeah, so for the 7 seed here, I have the Washington Wizards.
Wow. Pretty high for the so what are you thinking there?
I think the Wizards, I think you got a semi-big three of Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and Denny Avdija. I think that's what I said.
No, you didn't.
What
Get it
did I
right.
say? Denny Avdija.
Nice.
I said I said the same thing both
No, you
times.
did not.
I think I did. I
Run it
did.
back.
Okay, you're wrong, but I did. I think Robin Lopez is going to be a nice piece for them. I think that they're not the deepest team, but they definitely have some front end talent.
Yeah, I mean Pacers I actually didn't put in the playoffs, and they do have a lot of talent, but I think it's just
You guys are sleeping.
I mean, I think they were a very streaky team last year. We saw it. They got pretty hot in the bubble, and then you have the playoffs. They get swept by the Heat. So, I don't really trust them, and I think they could be a little overrated. And I think they could very well sneak in because this conference is, without a doubt, especially for that 8 seed, going to be very competitive.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, moving on to the 6 seed. Jack, you want to hit it off?
Yes, sir. Now, for the 6 seed, I have the Indiana Pacers.
Interesting.
There you go.
I think that the Indiana Pacers, now they are streaky, and that's what I'm betting on. I am betting on them being streaky here. I think you have Victor Oladipo, who's a star, Miles Turner, TJ Warren, Sabonis, Doug McDermott. I mean, they have a lot of talent. They're a pretty deep team too. Justin Holiday. I think that they're gonna get. I think they're gonna make the playoffs, Sammy, and I think they're gonna walk in with room to spare in the 6th seed.
I mean, one of my complaints with the Pacers is that they just really didn't do anything this offseason. Their only notable move at all was re-signing Justin Holiday. And, I don't think you can stay successful like that. I don't think they're talented enough to not do anything, not add hardly anyone, and expect to be in the playoffs again. I mean, I think they can very well sneak in. Like I said, I think 6 is a little high. I will say, for my 6th seed, I am going to be taking the Boston Celtics, and I've always loved the Celtics. I will say,
That's pretty low.
That is pretty, and that's what I was going to say. That's very low, because I do believe they're an extremely talented team, but I feel like, you get Hayward, you lose, which is tough. He was so important for them last year for sure when he was healthy. And then Kemba Walker, with the knee issues he's been having, I can't really trust him to have a full season or have a season at his full potential. I think the Celtics are still a team that can win the NBA Finals. I think they're still a contender. But in the regular season, I just think they won't be as successful with the loss of Hayward. And you also lose Cantor, who is a huge huge depth piece who really has emerged these past few years. Celtics, still a great team, don't get me wrong, but I think not a great offseason for them. So 6 seed it is for Boston.
All right. I mean, I understand what you're saying there. I have them a little higher on my rankings here. At the 6th seed, I got the Raptors. I think they're a good team. I just don't see them contending with the top of this Eastern Conference. Yeah, as I said, I mean, they're coached well. They just don't have enough raw talent to really put them, I think they're just one tier below some teams ahead of them. That's why I have them here at the 6th spot. Now, the 5 spot here is really interesting because there's a lot of teams I feel could be in this area for the seeding. So I'm really interested to see who you guys put there. Sammy, you want to hit it first?
Well, I'm actually going to take the Raptors, and I think they're still a good team, and I think contending for a title, it depends on a lot of things. I think the raw talent, like Ori was saying, isn't quite there. The star power isn't like what it was. You lose Serge Ibaka, pretty big blow, and Marc Gasol probably would have left anyway, but still not exactly the guys you want to lose. Not too much you do this offseason, but you're still a deep enough team for the most part and a well-coached enough team to win games during the regular season. And that's the bottom line. I mean, they're another team with a lot of underrated stars. Fred VanVleet, especially during the bubble, really told the world that he is a star in this league. Kyle Lowry has always been and always should be considered a star in this league. So, some underrated stars, some good depth, great coach team, Nick Nurse. So Raptors 5 seed for me.
Yeah, so for me, my 5 seed was the Boston Celtics. I think that they had they're obviously talented. The loss of Hayward hurts, but you got to be crazy to pay the type of money for Hayward that he got this year. So I think it's a pretty solid 5 seed.
All right, and Jack, I totally agree with you there. I have the Celtics as well as my 5 seed. We've agreed on 2 teams so far. Let's see if we have any more agreement higher up. You guys summed up Celtics team pretty well, so I don't think I need to add too much. But going on to the top 4 seeds in this playoff, I'll go first. I have the Heat. They made a extremely, extremely powerful run in the playoffs. Now, the reason I have them below a few of the teams is that I don't think that you can rely on Jimmy Butler playing like Superman. Like, he really did. And yes, I know they suffered injuries and still played extremely well, but I just don't think that over an extended amount of time, over a whole season, this talent will not be enough to get them one of the higher seeds. It will be good enough for 4th place in my prediction, but I still don't think talent-wise that they're better than the 3 teams I have above them. And that talent is going to be too much to overcome in the regular season.
Okay. So 4th place, I'll go with mine now. I have the 76ers. And the 76ers, I only have moving up 2 spots, but they really did improve a lot this offseason. They made Doc Rivers to start. That is the perfect guy to fill in what was not such a great coaching situation. And then you get Dwight Howard, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tyrese Maxey, as who's going to be a fun rookie. And the only pieces you really lose is Josh Richardson, who I'm not a 76ers fan, or he is. I'm sure you're fine with losing. Not the end of the world.
He was not that good.
Yeah, and Al Horford, who was good, but big contract to get him out of there. So at the end of the day, 76ers are a much improved team from last year, and they're already a talented team. If they could stay healthy with Simmons and Harris, and of course,
Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid. I don't know why I totally blanked on their best player. Joel Embiid, they're going to be a great, great team. So 4th seed, but they're another team that can contend for a title this year. Jack?
For sure. Now, I have the Raptors as my 4th seed. I think, obviously, the big 3 of Siakam, Kyle Lowry, and Fred VanVleet is going to carry the load for them. And I don't think there's much to be said. They've been there. They've done that. They're an experienced team. And I think they're going to come out super strong next year. Now, I'm going to go right ahead now to my 3 seed. Okay, so for my 3 seed here, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. I am high on the 76ers. I think there's a very good chance that they get James Harden. They got Doc Rivers, who's a great coach. They got obviously Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. If you're gonna get James Harden, it's probably gonna take someone like Tobias Harris. So I don't know if It's a little confusing there when you break down their roster, but I think they're a really talented team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. Now I guess we'll do our 3 seeds. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I have, and I was thinking a lot about this. It was a tough decision. These top 3 teams are all very good for me, but I have the Milwaukee Bucks at my 3 seed, and I'd been debating a lot about where to put these guys because they're a tough team, and you re-signed Giannis, which is huge, but I don't think it was a good offseason for them at the end of the day. You had Drew Holiday. Yay. But guess what? You gave up 2 of your best players, Bledsoe and Hill. So, and those are guys who really benefit the scheme because Hill is a great 3-point shooter. Bledsoe is great in the paint, great at driving the lane. And those are tough guys to lose. Giannis can't carry that whole team. Giannis and Middleton can't carry that whole team. I don't think Holiday is going to pick up the weight of those 2 other guys. And besides that, you add Portis, Stauskas, and Augustine, 3 guys that aren't horrible, but 3 guys who have been there, done that. They're veterans. And I'd rather get some young, exciting players in the mix as opposed to these older guys who aren't going to be as good. Now, all that being said, the Bucks are still a great team, a great defensive team, probably one of the best in the NBA. And, these other depth pieces are decent additions, but they aren't the kind of additions that are going to keep you as the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I don't think they improved this offseason.
All right. I mean, that's fair. I have them a little higher. But for my 3 seed, I have the Nets here. Now, they are going to be a very, very good team with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Obviously, 2 massive superstars. And them working together is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. And I think they're going to be a great team. I think they're going to be a better playoff team than they are a regular season team. I wouldn't be surprised if injuries plague this team and really hurt their chances. Both of these players are known to, have prior injuries. And to be honest with you, I just feel like the Sixers and the Bucks are just better overall and will be able to have more sustained performances. Now, this doesn't mean that in the playoffs they can't perform well enough to make it to the finals because they have the talent to do so. I think it's kind of like the Heat in a way where I just don't see them sustaining this over a complete season as I do with the Sixers or the Bucks.
Jack, what's your number 3 seed?
2 seed now.
Oh, so you already did. Okay, 2 seed.
I
Jack,
can
what's
just
your
go
2 seed?
anyway. I'll
Yeah,
just go.
Go
So-
with your 2 seed.
So yeah, I have the Heat. I think that Tyler Hero is going to take a huge step up in his
I agree.
development.
I totally agree.
And I think Jimmy Butler is going to be an MVP candidate next year. And I think they're going to shock some people. Well, not shock some people because everyone knows they're a great team. But I have some interesting things coming up for my 1 seed, so stay tuned.
Yeah, I mean, so I totally agree. I have the Heat also as my number 2 seed, and I think even after that final campaign, I feel like all in all, they're being slept on just a tad because, I mean, they're such a talented team. I mean, Bam Adebayo is even according to the NBA, a top 20 NBA player, a great year last year. Jimmy Butler is probably going to be an MVP candidate. Tyler Hero, I'm looking for him to maybe step into a starting role. He had a great bubble campaign last year. And, even when you don't do too much in the offseason, because they didn't, they're unfortunately saving cap space for Giannis, who now is stuck with the Bucks for 5 years. But even when you don't do too much in the offseason, they're improving because developmentally, you have so many young players that are just getting better. And they're just insanely talented. Also, some great depth on this team, underrated as well. Heat, an easy 2 seed for me. I really like all the things I'm seeing from them.
All right, and so for my 2 seed, I have the 76ers here. They have an absolute insane tandem in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and it's finally going to come to fruition. It's finally going to work how it was meant to work because of Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers is going to be able to finally mesh these 2 talents together. We have Tobias Harris. We might get James Harden. If we do, he'll probably be instead of Tobias Harris. And then if you have James Harden, I mean, that's insane. They have the ability. Now they have the coaching. I think there's nothing stopping this team from being incredible, and that's why I have them at my 2 seed. I guess I'll just go to my 1 seed, and we'll leave Jack's 1 seed for last. My 1 seed is the Bucks. Now, they signed Drew Holiday, and I think you're kind of underestimating how good Drew Holiday is going to be for this Bucks team. I think that they're staying around the same level as they were last year, and now that they've signed Giannis Antetokounmpo to a massive deal, they're going to keep him. Him and Middleton work amazing together. Again, as I've said, they add Drew Holiday. I think they're going to be a great team. Giannis is going to be able to dominate. They're not going to do very well in the playoffs, but they're going to be a great regular season team as they were last year. And they are going to they're going to repeat as the 1 seed for the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, man. I already voiced some of my issues with the Bucks. I still think they're going to be a great team, but my 1 seed is the Brooklyn Nets, and I think things are going to finally kind of start to come into fruition for this insanely talented Brooklyn Nets team. I mean, it's just clear to see. Last year, you were decent. You were a playoff team with LeVert, with Dinwiddie, but without Kyrie and KD playing together. And Kyrie was hurt a lot. So now you have Kyrie, KD, LeVert, Dinwiddie, and a deep team. You have Jared Allen. You have I'm blanking on his name. Why am I blanking?
DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan. I'm blanking today on my big man.
Brain fart.
Yeah, but I mean, really just a great team. Very deep, very talented, star power, finals contender, 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Jack, you have a cliffhanger? You have like a suspense here? You're saying?
Yes. Now, as you all know,
He's gonna have the Knicks as his 1 seed.
I am a man of the people, correct?
Yeah.
So I thought that I would do something interesting here. Okay.
Okay.
Now, as you know, I only have one decision to make, who's my 1 seed. However, I have not named the Nets and I have not named the Bucks. Do I think one of those teams is not going to make the playoffs?
God.
I do not. Did I accidentally leave one of those teams off my list? I did not. I'm a man of the people, and I'm also stupid. So I thought that some people could help me out with this. So there is a poll on our Instagram, chatter_cheap_seats pod. That once again, chatter_cheap seats pod. You can either vote for the Nets or the Bucks. Right now, the Nets are winning. Whoever is the winner of that poll in 24 hours will be my 1 seed. And
The
whoever
other team is missing the playoffs completely.
no, that everyone slides down. He's my 2 seed.
Okay.
Okay.
So then you'll
Because
kick
I thought
you're
we need
kicking
to
the
get these
Wizards
people
out?
involved. We need these people to get these people involved. Because I don't know anything about basketball. You guys, our audience, knows way more than I do. So they're going to make the 1 seed decision for me.
Okay. What? If it's wrong, we're gonna
wrong,
blame you.
If it's
It's
wrong,
your fault,
we're just gonna
Jack.
stop releasing podcasts, and we're just going to do it for us because our audience knows nothing then. I'm trusting you guys.
All right, but we still have some business to attend to here today on Chatter from the Cheap Seats.
Yes, we
Very
do.
importantly, we have to make our football picks. So it's a pretty tight race, and I think all 3 of us can still take the 1 spot from Ori.
Nope, not happening.
It's close.
So, we're gonna make our picks. I guess I'll go first, and I'm gonna go with my lock pick first. My lock pick is a good one this week. I have the Colts over the Texans. The Colts are a team. They have like 2 or 3 straight wins. I really am liking what I'm seeing on both sides of the field, on the offense and on the defense. A great, fun team, a team I knew was going to do good things this year. If you could scroll all the way back on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you'll see I had a hot take saying that the Colts would – I don't know if I said they'd win the division, but I said they're going to make the playoffs. So I'm looking pretty smart. I love the Colts and the Texans. I mean, they came off of a horrendous loss to the Chicago Bears, just in every aspect, dominance from Chicago and embarrassment from Houston. So Colts, I'm really excited to see what they can do to the Texans this week.
For sure. And I'll go to my lock now. I'm sticking with my strategy. It has literally never failed. I am fading the Jets. Once again, I can already picture an image in my mind of Aaron Donald walking over the Jets offensive line outside of Mekhi Becton. He's a beast. And just crushing the life out of Sam Darnold. The Rams are going to win this game.
Yeah, I feel sad for Sam Darnold this week.
30 points. That is my prediction.
Wow.
Wow. By 30 points. I mean, that's not too hot of a take. The Jets are absolutely horrible, and I don't think anyone would be surprised if Aaron Donald dominates that game on the defensive side. But for me, coming off an incredible win, and we talked about this game earlier, I'm taking the Ravens over the Jaguars. We're going to beat up on them, get some momentum going into the final 2 games of the season. Ravens over Jags. That's my lock. And for my upset, again, another team we were talking about, led by the best quarterback in the NFC East. We got the Eagles. They're going to win their matchup. I feel very, very confident in this Eagles team. Now with Jalen Hurts, nothing can stop them.
Wow, that's a hot take.
I mean,
I do hope they win, though, because as a Bears fan right now, Cardinals need to lose.
I hope
hate
they
the
lose.
Cardinals.
I don't want to give Ori any more points. I'm going for the comeback of the century here.
Yeah, but I guess we all did our lock pick, so I guess we can move on to our upsets. And upset, not a lot of good games this week to pick if you're an upset guy, or I guess or he did his upset already. But I'm taking the Lions over the Titans, and I mean it's just this is not.
This is why Sammy is not winning.
I hate.
But look, I mean, there were like Jack and Ori this week had the first 2 picks, and that was like the best one that there was. And the Titans on the spread are under 11. So like, if I get this right, I should win the whole thing automatically. I mean, and I think in my advantage, I think you have Matthew Stafford, who obviously we talked about earlier is a very competent and talented quarterback. The Lions last week competed with the Green Bay Packers, who top 3 team in football. They really stuck with them the entire game. Just 1 third-quarter touchdown separating those 2 teams. So, as a Lions fan, it's not a win, but it is kind of a win. And then the week before, they had this incredible comeback, horrible comeback if you're me, against the Chicago Bears. So, and the Titans on the other side of it, you beat down on the Jaguars, but like no big deal. Everyone beats down on the Jaguars. The week before, you lose to the Browns, a really tough loss for you guys. So from the Titans, I don't want to sleep on the Lions, and I think they might. So I'm not very confident in this pick, but I do have some evidence to back it up. So we'll see what happens.
We will certainly see what happens. Now, I'm going with something that I never thought anybody would hear come out of my mouth. I like the Cowboys.
You like the Cowboys? Wow. A few weeks ago.
Yeah, what is
Jack?
this?
Jack a few weeks ago would be very upset at present Jack. I don't know, man.
We are just making light of how horrible your take was a few weeks ago.
It wasn't a bad take.
Then why are you going against it now?
That was not my legit. That was like my secondary take. My real take was that the Cowboys are not going to win the division. I was going against.
You were harping on them never winning.
I didn't have a take. Sammy had a take. I was combating his take.
You also made some takes. I mean, my take was
bad. I mean,
but,
not really. I mean, I said the Cowboys suck. Do the Cowboys suck? Yes.
But you said that they never win another game, and like you bet like your life or something.
Yeah.
Something like.
I don't recall that.
I do not recall.
However, I think
see.
the 49ers are coming off a pretty brutal loss emotionally to the football team.
I feel like every week for the 49ers, this is a brutal emotional loss.
Yeah, I really don't think. I think the Cowboys are coming. They're building some momentum here. Had a pretty good game last week. I think they're gonna. I pray that they're gonna win the game because there is not really that many good games available, and I'm in need of a miracle. This is a Hail Mary, folks.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jack. I mean, Ori's pick is like based off some evidence with Jalen Hurts. That's a pick I would have taken if I would have been able to pick it earlier. But like, it's just like there aren't that many good upset picks.
That's not true. I do think that I'm basing a lot of my evidence off of the emotional drain, and I think that they might just be done. Like as a team, I think they might give up.
Yeah, man. An upset I could have taken is the Bears. Now, like I've strayed away from picking them because just like I feel like if I get involved, something horrible is gonna happen. But yeah, so that is, I believe, all of our football picks. But we are still not done. We still have unfinished business. Ori, he says he has a really good Amazon product today. And I know we say this every week, but he said this could be one of his best. So, Ori, take it away. Ori's Amazon product of the day.
All right. So this would be one of the more notable Amazon products because of how, like, it is so out of left field. I had to reread the description like 4 times to truly understand what this product
Well,
is.
that's because you're not a strong reader.
That is also true. That is also true. So take that with a grain of salt. So let me give you a breakdown. I will say the name and you will not understand anything. So just let me break down the product. So
Okay.
it's a UFO detector with blue LEDs and an internal magnetometer interfaced with microcontroller. So basically,
Or you know the products are supposed to be real.
they
Right.
all, it is real. It's on Amazon. It's $89. $89. It has 49 ratings.
$89.
Yeah, $89. It's an
Yeah.
expensive little thing. It's apparently it detects high magnetic anomalies is how they describe it. And apparently magnetic anomalies correlate with
Word
UFO
pop.
spottings. So basically what you do is you put this in your house anywhere, and whenever it detects a magnetic anomaly, the LEDs light up and it goes crazy, and now you look outside and maybe you'll see a UFO. That's the idea of the product. So out of 49 ratings, what do you think this bad boy got out of 5 stars?
1.
One.
I don't trust
One.
it at all. I don't trust it.
Not real. Not real.
Both of you guys got 1. All right, it got a
Yeah.
3.8. All right,
Not bad.
Which
What
is
are
not
people
horrible.
Pretty
saying?
bad. Pretty bad.
I mean it's not horrible for
Not
this.
great.
I
It's
mean
not
this,
what you want.
yeah, this type of product is a reach though. I have
Not what you want.
You
not
think-
what you want, and I had some funny reviews that I would like to share. So there's a lot of reviews that are saying that this is quite faulty, and one of the 5-star reviews says, "My wife is an alien. No, every time she is pulling into the driveway." So-
That's hilarious. Oh
So,
no.
so
Oh, no.
I guess magnetic anomalies also include driving into the driveway. So, take this product with a grain of salt. It seems pretty interesting. Definitely something I do not recommend, but I mean, nonetheless, a very interesting idea for a product.
I mean, I don't trust, magnetic anomalies. I mean, bro, they're stealing your $90. Let's face it.
Now, quick update
But
on the poll. The
It is
Nets are
interesting. And
currently
it's
winning.
hilarious.
Yeah.
The Nets are currently winning 57% to 43% against the Bucks. But Ori, do you believe in aliens?
Yes, of course I do.
Sammy, do you?
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, there's probably some
believe-
life out there.
Like, I believe
there's
there
gotta
is
be
life out there, but I
There
think
is.
it's in a very microscopic form.
I
Like,
think
don't think
it's-
there's any big green alien.
I think if there's life out there, I think it's like completely different than anything we can imagine because I don't think there'd
Oh,
be
for
like
sure.
Yeah,
I don't think they'd be humanoid like we are. Like I don't think they'd have like legs and they'd walk. Like they'd
humanoid.
just be weird, something we couldn't even think of.
Humanoid.
Humanoid, yeah.
You think they just like walk on their head or something?
I don't think they'd have like I think it would just be like we couldn't even
Can't even
conceptualize what it would be.
Well, boys, we did it again.
Alien
Another
talk.
banger episode. Now,
Absolutely.
Sammy, please don't say it this time. We're trying to get through. Ori, final thoughts?
Thank you for listening to the whole pod. I had another great time with you, Jack, and Sammy. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I have to say it. Another fun episode because it was,
I gave you pre-notice and everything. Oh
You know
my!
what? It's we gotta get into it's like the holiday. Come on, guys! It's
It's
December.
the holidays.
It's the
Holiday season.
holidays. We gotta be.
Let him be happy, Jack.
Yeah, come on.
I swear, one time, Sammy's gonna say, "Well, guys, yeah, another." I'm gonna mute him and say, "Well, great episode, guys. See you guys next time."
Oh God, I will be wary of that. I guarantee. But yeah, really was a fun episode. NBA predictions, pretty cool stuff. If you guys liked it, leave a like. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching or listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. We love hearing from you guys. Leave a voicemail. Jack, we'll plug the number in just a second. And yeah, see you guys next time. And if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, I know it's like a day late, but Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays, everyone.
And if you celebrate both happy
cheating.
Hanukkah.
Happy holiday cheating. Seriously. Should be illegal.
Strong take. Now, like Sammy said, if you want to leave a voicemail, that is 202-743-1767. Also, a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast is highly, highly appreciated. We really, really do love that. But, great episode. See you guys next time on Chatter from the Cheap Seats. Or you take us out.
Bye.